This is for you. Today, although I know I have read it to you before, but you were much younger then, is a book called Winnie the Pooh by A. Milne. And I'd like to read it to you now. Reading glasses. Chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees, and the stories begin. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, bump, bump on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels that there really is another way. If only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you. Winnie the Pooh. When I first heard his name, I said, just as you are going to say, "But I thought he was a boy." "So did I," said Christopher Robin. "Then you can't call him Winnie." "I don't." "But you said, he's Winnie Ther Pooh. Don't you know what 'ther' means?" "Ah, yes, now I do," I said quickly, and I hope you do too, because it's all the explanation we are going to get. Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story. This evening... "What about a story?" said Christopher Robin. "What about a story?" I said. "Could you very sweetly tell Winnie the Pooh one?" "I suppose that I could," I said. "What sort of stories does he like?" "About himself, because he's that kind of bear." "Oh, I see. So, could you do it very sweetly?" "I'll try," I said, and so I tried. A story within a story. This one begins now. Oh, and it's still for you. Once upon a time, a very long time ago, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. "What does under the name mean?" asked Christopher Robin. "It means he had the name over the door in gold letters and lived under it." Winnie the Pooh wasn't quite sure, said Christopher Robin. "Now I am," said a gravelly voice. "Then I will go on," said I. One day, when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest, and in the middle of this place was a large oak tree, and from the top of the tree there came a loud buzzing noise. Winnie the Pooh sat down at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. "First of all," he said to himself, "that buzzing noise means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that, just buzzing and buzzing, without it meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody's making a buzzing noise, and the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you are a bee." Then he thought another long time, and he said, "And the only reason for being a bee that I know of is for making honey." And then he got up and said, "And the only reason for making honey is so that I can eat it." And so he began to climb the tree. He climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, and as he climbed he sang a little song to himself, and it went like this. "Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does." And then he climbed a little further, and a little further, and then just a little further. And by that time he had thought of another song. "It's a very funny thought that if bears were bees, they'd build their nests at the bottom of trees. And that being so, if bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb up all these stairs." He was getting rather tired by this time, and that is why he sang a complaining song. He was very nearly there now, and if he just stood on that branch... Crack! "Oh, help," said Pooh, as he dropped 10 feet to the branch below him. "If only I hadn't," he said, as he bounced 20 feet on to the next branch. You see, what I meant to do, he explained as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. What I meant to do, of course it was rather, he admitted as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. It all comes, I suppose, he decided as he said goodbye to the last branch, spun around 3 times, and flew gracefully into a gorse bush. It all comes from liking honey so much. Oh, help. He crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. "Was that me?" said Christopher Robin in an awed voice, hardly daring to believe it. "Yes, that was you." Christopher Robin said nothing, but his eyes got larger and larger, and his face got pinker and pinker. So Winnie the Pooh went around to his friend, Christopher Robin, who lived behind a big green door in another part of the forest. "Good morning, Christopher Robin," he said. "Good morning, Winnie the Pooh," said you. "I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you." "A balloon?" "Yes, I was just saying to myself, coming along, I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said it to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering." "What do you want a balloon for?" you said. Winnie the Pooh looked around to see that nobody else was listening, put his paw to his mouth, and said in a deep whisper, "Honey. I want honey." "But you don't get honey with a balloon." "I do," said Pooh. "Well, it just so happened that you had been to a party the day before at a house of your friend Piglet, and you had a balloon at the party. You had a great big green balloon, and one of Rabbit's relations had a big blue one, and had left it behind, being really too young to go to a party at all. And so you had brought the green one and the blue one home with you." "Which one would you like?" you asked Pooh. He put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. "It's like this," he said. "When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is to not let the bees know that you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you were only part of the tree and not notice you. And if you had a blue balloon, you might think that you were only part of the sky and not notice you. And the question is, which is most likely?" "Wouldn't they notice you under the balloon?" you asked. "They might or they might not," said Winnie the Pooh. "You never can tell with bees." He thought for a moment and said, "I shall try to look like a small black cloud, and that will deceive them." "Well, then you'd better have a blue balloon," you said, and so it was decided. Well, you both went out with the blue balloon, and you took your gun with you, just in case, as you always did, and Winnie the Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of, and rolled until he was black all over. And then, when the balloon was blown up as big, you and Pooh went both holding on to the string, and you let go suddenly, and Pooh Bear floated gracefully up into the sky, and stayed there, level with the top of the tree and about 20 feet apart from it. "Hooray!" you shouted. "Isn't that fine?" shouted Winnie the Pooh down to you. "What do I look like?" "You look like a muddy bear holding on to a balloon," you said. "Not," said Pooh anxiously, "not like a small black cloud in a blue sky?" "No, not very much," you said. "Ah, well, perhaps from up here it looks different, and as I say, you never can tell with bees." There was no wind to blow him nearer the tree, so there he stayed. He could see the honey, and he could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. After a little while he called down to you. "Christopher Robin," he said in a loud whisper. "Hello." "I think the bees suspect something." "What sort of thing do you think they suspect?" "I don't know, but something tells me they're suspicious." "Well, perhaps they think you're after their honey." "Well, it may be that, after all. You never can tell with bees." There was another little silence, and he called down to you again. "Christopher Robin." "Yes?" "Do you have an umbrella at your house?" "I think so." I wish you would bring it out here and walk up and down with it and look up at me every now and again and say, 'Oh, tut, tut, it looks like rain.' I think if you did that, it would help with the deception that we are practicing on these bees." And you laughed to yourself. Silly old bear. But you didn't say it aloud because you were so fond of him, and you went home for your umbrella. "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh as soon as you got back to the tree. "I was beginning to get anxious. I have discovered that the bees are definitely suspicious." "Shall I put my umbrella up?" you asked. "Yes, but wait a moment. We must be practical. The important thing is to deceive the queen bee. Can you see which one is the queen bee from down there?" No. No, I can't. "Oh, that's a pity. Well, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, 'Tut, tut, it looks like rain,' I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song, like a cloud might sing." So, while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie the Pooh sang this song. "How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud." The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. Some of them, indeed, left their nest and flew all around the cloud as it began the second verse of the song. And one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment, and then it got up again. "Christopher, ow! Robin," called out the cloud. "Yes?" "I've been thinking, and I have come to the important decision. These are the wrong kind of bees." "Are they?" "Quite the wrong sort. So I should think that they would make the wrong sort of honey, don't you?" "Would they?" "Yes, so I think that I shall come down." "How?" asked you. Winnie the Pooh had not thought of this. If he let go of the string, he would fall, bump, and he didn't like the idea of that. So he thought for a long time, and he said, "Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun?" "Of course I have," you said, "but if I do that, it will spoil the balloon." "But if you don't," said Pooh, "I shall have to let go. That will spoil me." When you put it like this, you saw how it was, and you aimed very carefully at the balloon and fired. "Ow!" said Pooh. "Did I miss?" you asked. "Well, you didn't exactly miss," said Pooh, "but you missed the balloon." "Oh, I'm sorry," you said, and you fired again. And this time you hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out, and Winnie the Pooh floated gently down to the ground. But his arms were so stiff from holding on to the string of the balloon all that time that they stayed straight up in the air for more than a week, and whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, he had to blow it off. Puh, puh, puh. And I think, but I'm not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh. "Is that the end of the story?" said Christopher Robin. "That's the end of that one. There are others. About Pooh and me, and Piglet and Rabbit and all of you. Don't you remember?" "I do remember, and then when I try to remember, I forget. That day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump, they didn't catch it, did they?" "No. Pooh couldn't because he doesn't have any brain. Did I catch it?" "Well, that does come into the story." Christopher Robin nodded. "I do remember," he said, "only Pooh doesn't remember very well, so that's why he likes having it told to him, because then it's a real story and not just a remembering." "That's exactly how I feel," I said. Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh, picked up his bear by the leg, and walked to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. At that door he turned and said, "You coming to see me have my bath?" "I might," I said. "I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I?" "Not one bit." He nodded and went out. In a moment I heard Winnie the Pooh bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. I love reading to you, and I hope you love listening. And I'll read you more later. Let me know. I can read more Winnie the Pooh stories. There are other books that I love that I like to read to you as well. And, when we can talk, you can tell me exactly the kind of stories you like. And maybe Someday you'll read one to me. I love you very much, and I hope to see you very soon.